I hope you all had a fantastic trading week, and with that being said, let's get right into this week's Forex Forecast. Alright, starting the weekly Forex Forecast off with the DXY analysis here, the US dollar. The big question of the next couple weeks is, will we be pulling back up to this drop-based drop daily supply at 104.86? It is definitely a very good looking drop-based drop supply zone, and to me it looks like we are kind of, obviously there is a little bit of momentum to the upside, not too good momentum, but there is evidence to suggest we could be pulling up to this supply zone and reacting off of it to the downside due to the nature of the daily downtrend. So this daily supply zone is a zone with the overall trend. There's no trend on the weekly chart, but on the daily chart, this is what I would call a downtrend. And again, it's a beautiful drop-based drop, very clean supply zone with a nice move away. So I do think we will react off that daily supply if we do in fact react off of it. Now, on the 4-hour chart, we had a nice 4-hour downtrend. It was obviously removed right here, and it was removed by this demand zone at 103.85. This is a good little a good little drop-based rally demand zone. Very nice move away from this zone. So I think if we do push down to here, whether or not we hit the daily supply zone first or not, I think we will hesitate to go through here. I'll be surprised, unless there's some sort of news event or economic data, if we just blast through this zone. I personally think we will at least at minimum hesitate through this zone. But eventually, since the daily trend is down, I expect that we will end up breaking it, and then any 4-hour supply zone there could be a good little pullback, potential short off of that 4-hour supply on some of the US dollar pairs. So again, the big question is, will we be pulling back down up to that daily supply? Now, if the daily supply is up here, which it is, if we pull back to this 4-hour zone first, I think we could actually get a positive move off the zone first to kind of fuel for that move up to the daily supply and then react off of it like that. So this zone down here could kind of be like almost like a trampoline to push back up to that daily supply zone. But like I said, if we hit the daily supply zone first, then at that point, this zone becomes lower odds, and I think we will have no problem breaking it. Although I still think we will, at minimum, if we hit the daily supply push back down, I think we will hesitate around here, but ultimately end up breaking it. So it's high. This zone is higher odds to get a move off of it if we hit this zone before we hit the daily supply. And then, like I said, if we remove this 4-hour demand zone, that would give us the H4. I can't even draw properly, but H4 downtrend again, and that would definitely be significant to continue to look for the US dollar shorts. On to the forecast for the Euro USD. So unlike the DXY, we are actually into a daily demand zone. It's a beautiful rally-based rally demand zone. We've been pointing this one out for we've been predicting that if we did break this, we would have some sort of demand here at 108, and we do have that demand zone right now. A couple green candles here, nothing crazy, but we are clearly getting some sort of reaction to the upside off of this daily zone, and indicated by my upward arrow on my chart that all the members have, it's an upward trend now. So this daily zone is with the trend. We are expecting price to continue to break up to the upside. Now, on the 1-hour chart, we did get a significant break of momentum. We recently broke this upper trend line right here. Downward trend line was removed right there. Unfortunately, I don't really see any zones here or anything, so there's not really a tradable zone at this point, unfortunately, and we don't really even have a good 1-hour trend yet. I would say this momentum is certainly up, but what I would actually be looking for to really indicate that we're going to go up is if we can get this, the high right here removed, something like that. That would give us a pretty nice upper momentum line here on the 1-hour chart, our trend line, and at that point, 5-minute time frame longs are going to be higher odds. But at any point, guys, since the daily demand zone is in control, we broke the downward trend line in the 1-hour chart, that is in theory a confirmation. So I personally think longs are going to be fine here on the Euro US dollar, especially on the day trading time frames. Now, if you want to be a little bit more conservative, which is never a bad idea, right? Especially we're in the middle of summer right now. Trading is a little bit difficult. We are seeing zones being blown through quite often lately. It's just the reality of it. I won't lie to you guys. Trading is a little bit more difficult in the summer based on my experience. If you want to be more conservative, we have a drop-based drop 4-hour supply zone here at 1.08. It's a good little zone. If we remove this 4-hour supply, any 4-hour demand zone there, this would be our 4-hour confirmation entry model as we push off the daily demand zone from down below. So this would be the confirmation model on the 4-hour chart. Again, we want to see this supply zone removed. That would really prove to us that, hey, the daily zone that we just reacted off of, that's being respected. The daily trend is being respected, and we are going to continue to push up. So that would be kind of our extra conservative confirmation, the removal of this 4-hour supply. Now, you guys know, if you've been following my channel for a while, I like to point out both sides of the equation. If you are bearish the euro, which I am not, remember, the daily trend is up, and not only that, we are pulling back into a daily zone. Sure, it could break. We've seen this happen tons of times where the zone breaks, the trend changes. The trend, this daily trend could end up changing, no problem. But when we have a trend, we have to go with that trend. Based on my experience, that is the best thing to do. Doesn't mean you can't trade counter trend, it just means it's lower odds. If you want to trade counter trend, if you think that the daily zone is going to break, this would really be the only area I would say is decent for shorts at 1.08, this 4-hour supply. And if you don't feel comfortable just with an entry and a stop loss above and a take profit below, that's fine. You actually probably shouldn't feel comfortable with that based on the fact that the daily demand is in control. So what would make this higher odds, if once this 4-hour supply zone is contacted, you look for confirmation on a 15-minute or a 5-minute time frame to look for shorts off of that supply zone. That would be the higher odds thing to do if you are bearish off of this supply. And again, if we remove it, that's also bullish as well. So if you want to look at it like that, like I said, we have a 1-hour trend to the upside. So at any point, 5-minute time frame longs are going to be good, and just longs in general are good because the daily zone is in control. But if you want to, again, be a little bit more conservative, your trading is going to revolve around this 4-hour supply. Either wait for it to be removed or potentially look for shorts in here if you are bearish here on the EURUSD. On to the forecast for gold. We will do a top-down approach here. We're going to stick on the weekly just for a second. Just want to show you guys, remember, the trend is up. Yes, this is a lot of sideways price action. However, look at the overall trend to the upside. Even go on the macro charts. Go look at the 12-month, the 6-month, the 3-month chart. Things are looking nothing but positive here on gold, even though, yes, we have hesitated here. That's fine. It's also possible we do retrace all the way back to weekly demand at 22.24, which I really welcome. I would love that pullback. I am praying every night for this pullback before I go to bed. I say, God, please give us that pullback on gold. I would love to get an entry down there and buy some more physical as well. So that's a great area to look for longs now, that weekly zone. I'm not seeing a lot of evidence to suggest we will be pulling back down to there just yet. And why is that? Well, because we have this daily trend to the upside, a beautiful daily upward trend line, pretty much picture perfect, and it's currently being respected. If you go back to last week's forecast, we had this demand zone here and this demand zone down here. I said, yeah, this is a good zone. We could definitely look for longs in this daily zone. If not, I could see us breaking down to this daily zone that's just a little bit lower. And we did just that. We actually blew through the initial zone and we reacted off of the zone right here. Pushed up, almost hit supply, and now we are back in for a second test. I don't love this. This is actually kind of foreshadowing a potential break here. However, we did see a pretty green day on Friday there, so it is looking a little bit more strong, but I definitely don't love that we are testing this zone deeper and the trend line. I think that is a recipe to push price a little bit lower. That's kind of my gut feeling at this point. But also, the trend is up, right? We kind of have to go with longs at this point, especially since the zone is being respected, with profit margin up to 24.45. Up to that daily supply zone. So we pretty much, like I said, have to go with longs. However, since this daily zone is being tested very deep and the trend line is being tested deep, I don't mind looking for shorts. So I'm going to break down what I would be doing here. First, we did have a beautiful day trade. We had a 4-hour zone here, and you can see we wicked right into the zone right there, and we actually got a pretty much picture perfect confirmation model trade here. I'm going to point it out right now, where we had price come in, contacted our 4-hour higher time frame zone, broke a supply zone right here, created a demand zone, and we got that pullback entry on day trading time frame. So this was a beautiful day trade setup that we called out in the daily market breakdown videos, which are basically forecasts that I release throughout the week. If you guys want access to those forecasts, check out the Diamond membership. Links are in the description down below. We have a private Discord group as well. Video lessons, Sunday Zoom sessions where we talk strategy and forecasts as well on Sunday. So check it out. We'll be happy to see all serious traders join the team. We also have lifetime access if you don't want to pay the monthly fee. So we got that beautiful day trade off of that zone right there. on the 4-hour chart, but then we actually ended up breaking it. So that's why it's always good to, you know, take profit, or at least, you know, as price was pushing up here, it's good to lock in profit, right? Kind of trail your take profit, the last 25% of it, or whatever you want to do. And, you know, like I said, we did actually end up breaking the demand zone, and then we actually created a 4-hour downward trend, and we do have some supply zones above. We are currently actually reacting off the supply at 23.89, so we definitely could see, you know, this trend being respected. There is, like I said, the higher time frames are showing that price could be going up, but on this 4-hour time frame, to me, it looks like we could be going down. That is just kind of my gut feeling at this point. So if you want to look for shorts as we come off of this 4-hour supply zone, I think that's completely fair. It is counter trend, so it might be a time to risk a little bit less rather than a full 1% or 2% risk, whatever you like to do. On the 1-hour chart, we have a 1-hour supply here, a nice drop-based drop, beautiful move off that supply at 23.93. I think it's definitely a decent area to look for shorts as well, with maybe an entry, stop, and take profit at the low or something like that. It's with the overall trend, and at any point as well, since these trend lines are holding, 15-minute and 5-minute time frame shorts are good as long as this trend is holding. If we really break out to the upside like that on the 1-hour chart, let's say we break supply, we break the downward trend line, any 1-hour demand zone there, that could be used as our entry, as our confirmation entry model as we push off the daily zone that we are kind of in right now. So it's all really going to evolve around this 1-hour supply zone. Again, it's a tricky situation where we have a weekly and daily trend to the upside, but on my right side of my screen we have a 4-hour and a 1-hour downtrend. In theory, these trends trump these. However, since the daily zone has already been tested, we're testing the trend line, we could expect it to drop. So in my opinion, confirmation is going to be best at these 4-hour and 1-hour supply zones here. The real evidence to suggest we will be respecting those trends on the higher time frames would be basically a move like this, where we remove both of these supply zones. Any 4-hour demand zone there, I'll personally be looking at that zone to look for longs off of that zone. So it's all going to revolve around these 4-hour and 1-hour downward trends. If they continue to be respected, we will continue to fall. If they break, that is basically confirmation that the daily trend and the weekly trend is going to continue up, and we will not be getting that pullback down to that weekly zone that I pointed out earlier. If you guys are enjoying this video so far, do not hesitate to hit that like button and subscribe. All ad revenue generated from these weekly Forex Forecast videos is donated to my local hospice charity, so every like and every share helps. As we look at the weekly chart here of the USDJPY, a very unfortunate thing happened. You know, we have a beautiful trend to the upside, so in theory, you want to be looking for longs. However, the US dollar index is showing we could be seeing some weakness, and we clearly are seeing that here on the USD yen chart. Now, we did pull back into demand on the weekly chart. It has already been tested, and it's not even that good of demand either. So am I thinking we're going to continue to go up? I don't know. I mean, on the daily chart, if we do a full top-down analysis here, things are looking really weak, right? We had demand zones being removed, upper trend line being removed, supply zones being formed on the way down. Yes, we are pulling back now, but it's what I like to call probably a dead cat bounce. I didn't make that up, by the way. It's a saying. So I think this is just a dead cat bounce. I think this will be short-lived. If we go down to the lower time frames, we could, on the 4-hour chart here, we do have a beautiful 4-hour downtrend. We do have a decent drop-based drop supply zone. It's not amazing at 155.53. We could pull back up to that supply and react off of it there. So that is my nearest 4-hour supply zone that I think we could look for shorts off of if you are bearish. Now, as far as a downward trend line goes, as long as this downward trend line is holding, guys, I think looking for 15-minute time frame shorts are good. So let's say we push up to here, respect the trend line, nice little 15-minute supply zone is formed there. Boom, we could definitely look for a trade off of that as long as that downward trend line is holding. Now, if we get a move like this where we break the supply, break the downward trend line, any 4-hour demand zone there, boom, we could look for longs off of like that. That would be our confirmation that the weekly trend is going to continue up. So as long as this 4-hour downward trend line is holding, I think looking for day trading shorts is fine. If you are bullish the yen, which I'm really not, guys, we do have a 1-hour demand zone at 152.73. It is pretty much counter trend to the 4-hour chart. We could see a move off of it there, so if you are bullish, this would be our drop-based rally demand zone. We could look for longs off of there on the USD yen. That's really all I am seeing at this point for longs. If we break this demand zone, any 1-hour supply zone there could be good to continue to trade with that overall 4-hour downtrend, especially since we've seen the daily chart with such a significant move down, we could continue to see some more bearishness. On to the forecast for the GBPUSD. We are into weekly supply, but if you look here, I talked about this last week as well, we are already testing that supply zone. Pretty much tested it 95% of the way in as well. We are kind of reacting off of it again, so we could see downward pressure here, but I'm not really counting it as a solid area of supply we should be looking to short. If we go to a daily chart, kind of a top-down approach here, I mean, picture perfect upward trend line here. It does not get better than this, and we are into a nice little rally-based rally buying area right here, and we are clearly already seeing some sort of reaction off of it to the upside. So in my opinion, you know, what do we do here? I definitely don't think looking for shorts is good, right? What we have, if you're looking to short, you're going against not only a demand zone, but a demand zone that's with the trend, guys. That's very significant. So I personally think we should be looking for longs as some sort of confirmation off of that daily zone. And there's really nothing to look at on the 4-hour chart here. It's just really bad price action. But on the 1-hour chart, we at least have a 1-hour downtrend. And a pretty nice looking 1-hour downward trend line here. Pretty much picture perfect as well. It's almost just as good as that daily uptrend trend line. So if we do get something like this where we remove the downward trend line here, any 1-hour demand zone there, that would be our confirmation model right there. And look, if you don't want to wait for the zone, that's fine. If we break out above and close above this upward trend line or this downward trend line, that would be our confirmation. We can get in long as well. So we are basically just waiting for a shift in direction here to see this downward trend change in the 1-hour chart. Who knows, guys? We could, if this 1-hour zone is respected, then that daily zone is going to break, right? So we have to see this trend line be removed to confirm that the daily trend is going to continue and that daily demand zone is going to be respected. So we are basically waiting for a breakout above this trend line to prove to us that we should be looking for longs here on the pound. And look, if you think the daily trend is going to change to the downside, if you think the daily demand zone is going to be removed, and if you want to get aggressive with shorts, I get it. It's just counter trend, so it's very risky. But I will say, as long as this downward trend line is being respected, 5-minute shorts are not bad if you are a day trader. But I repeat, only 5-minute time frame shorts, maybe a 1-minute time frame. I wouldn't go any higher than that, and I would definitely risk less and look to take profit earlier. I don't even really recommend doing this based on the fact that the daily trend is up and the daily demand is in control. I'm just saying, if you are a day trader, I like to point out both sides. And I mean, it's a beautiful downward trend on the 1-hour chart, but all trends come to an end. And usually when a trend like this comes to an end, it's because some sort of daily zone from back here comes in control. So be careful with shorts, guys. As far as what I'm doing, I'm going to be waiting for this downward trend line to be removed for longs. Alrighty, on to the USDCAD here. We are into a daily supply from back here. If you look here, it's already been tested basically a couple days after it was created. It was tested again here. And now we are coming in for that third test. So is it significant? Not really. The only thing that I'm noticing is, if you look, we've barely tested it before. So I actually think we could react off of it to the downside, especially since I am bearish the dollar. But I don't know. It's not really that significant in my opinion. But good news, we were going really sideways here pretty much since April. And now we officially broke above that, which has given us a daily trend to the upside, which is definitely significant. It's weird considering, you know, the fact that the DXY is in a downtrend, so it's tricky. And I'll be honest with you guys, I see no zones for me to point out on this pair right now. All I will say is that we do have a 4-hour trend, a 1-hour trend indicated by the arrows here. So with the daily trend combined, I think it's fine to look for 15-minute and 5-minute time frame longs. That's it. Day trading longs, that's it. I don't see any zones here. We are kind of just chugging along. There's no zones really being formed here. We might have a 1-hour demand zone formed if we break that. But look, the USDCAD not looking great right now. Yes, the fact that the daily trend has been formed is great. It's definitely a good sign. However, I'm not really seeing any 4-hour or 1-hour zones for me to point out right now. So I will say, since we have a 1-hour, 4-hour trend, the day trading longs, guys, are fine. I see no reason to look for shorts at this point until we can get a significant shift in momentum. So in the meantime, it's 15-minute and 5-minute time frame longs all the way. Alrighty, on to the forecast for the AUDUSD, the Aussie US dollar. So you guys know from last week's forecast, we had this daily demand zone and this daily demand zone. I was this daily zone was looking promising. The only thing it didn't have going for it was the fact that there was so much trading in this area, a lot of noise here. So I'm not too surprised to see this many red days. I mean, it is a little surprising, but it's not that surprising. I personally think this daily zone is better, but I was saying if we remove this one, I think it's clear we are headed to this zone. And look at that, the first green candle reacting off of this daily zone. So what that means to me is we are probably going to be headed up, in my opinion, especially based on the daily downtrend of the US dollar. So I am expecting to move off this zone, and I mean, we were already seeing it. We'll go to the lower time frames here in a second. I just want to point out the profit margin is to opposing daily supply at 0.6669. So I think we could trade from demand to supply. I think it's really pointing that out. There's not much here to stop price on the way up. So I really think it's a great time, you know, to look for longs. And I'll keep it simple with you guys. We have a 1 hour downtrend at this point. I would say we are kind of going sideways, but the overall trend is down. We can actually remove the downward trend line arrow there. There's not really a downward trend line. However, there is a supply up here. So what I'll be waiting for personally is the removal of this supply zone right there. If we can remove that, any 1 hour demand zone there would be our confirmation model entry as we come off that daily zone from down here. So it's really that simple. If you are bearish, if you think, hey, I think Kevin's wrong, I think we're going to continue to go down and that daily zone is not going to be respected, that's fine. The only way I would short would be at that 1 hour supply. So all of your trading, whether you're bullish or bearish, is all going to revolve around this 1 hour supply zone. For shorts, okay, I'm personally not going to do that. I'm going to be waiting for that to be removed and then waiting for a 1 hour zone to be formed like that. Now we do have upper momentum here. So in theory, especially since the daily zone's in control, I don't really mind looking for longs on like a 5 minute time frame right now. It is a little bit risky since I don't really consider this an upward trend. It's just upward momentum. But honestly, since the daily zone's in control, I personally think this is going to go up. We just have to be a little bit patient and kind of wait for that confirmation here on the Aussie US dollar. On to the USDCHF, beautiful daily downward trend at this point. We had daily supply and control respected, pushed down, broke a low recently the last week. So that's really significant. In my opinion, we are clearly headed down. The only issue, and I repeat, the only issue is the fact that we are into this pretty nice rally-based rally weekly demand. However, it was tested as we pushed out of it. We are coming back in for a second test. So it's not as relevant anymore. I actually think looking for shorts is going to be fine. And there's not really any zone that I'm liking at this point. We had this beautiful drop-based drop supply I've been pointing out since last week. We barely missed that trade. So close. But the good news is we have a good little 4 hour downward trend. So at any point, 5 minute and 15 minute time frame longs are going to be good to continue to trade with this overall, not only a 4 hour downtrend, but also a daily downtrend, right? That's really promising, especially since we have that daily downtrend as well. Look, if we do push back up to that daily supply, the only issue is that the downward trend line, it'll be above it, but I still think we could react off of it since it's technically still fresh. So I still think that's a good little supply zone to look for shorts off of, and at any point, 15 minute, 5 minute time frame shorts definitely on the table, especially since we have that daily downward trend as well, with really tons of, basically not unlimited profit margin, but really profit margin all the way down to daily demand at 0.86 at this point. So I really think shorts are looking promising, especially if you are a day trader on the 15 minute and the 5 minute time frame here on the USDCHF. Last but not least, we are on to crude oil. Unfortunately, you guys know I've been pointing out this daily zone here, and we kind of pierce above it. It seems like some sort of manipulative move where, okay, we did remove it, but it's, I don't know, it's a weird removal. It's not like a clean break with a candle close. It's kind of wicky. Now, if you guys have been watching my forecast, I'm not too worried about that because we do have a zone down below at 76.46 that is better in theory. So I still think it's fine to look for longs at any point, whether it's right now or waiting for this daily zone. I think looking for longs is definitely going to be okay. We have a new daily supply above at about 82.25. So any longs, that would be pretty much our long-term profit target, unless you want to let one ride all the way up above if you think the daily trend is going to change. But, you know, things are looking good as far as potential long trades go. Now, in the 1 hour chart, we had a beautiful confirmation here on this 1 hour time frame. We had a downward trend line. Basically some supply here. Boom. What a move to the upside. Beautiful demand zone. Got a nice pullback into it. and rally out of it pretty quickly. We did test it though about 85% of the way in, so it's not looking fantastic. I think we could still look for longs off of the zone, but at 77.72. But I think at this point, day trading longs are going to be the best. So if you're a 5-minute time frame trader or 50-minute time frame trader, this demand zone's in control. We could be looking for longs as we push out of this zone. I think that that's completely fine, and we have a lot of higher time frame analysis to go with it. So I think looking for longs off the zone is fine. To the upside, if you want to be a little bit more, conservative, which I get, we could just be waiting for this 4-hour supply to be taken out, and then any 4-hour demand zone there, boom, we could look for longs off of like that. But obviously, this is confirmation is going to be a little bit more difficult to get, and also, unfortunately, this supply zone is closer to that daily supply that's above, so your profit margin is cut. That's why I'm pointing out the 1-hour demand zone that I just pointed out to kind of get a little bit more aggressive with it. But obviously, it's definitely possible we just pull back down to the daily zone that's just a little bit lower and then rally like that. So if we do get that, that's fine. I'll be personally looking for longs in that daily zone as well here on crude oil. If you guys want to watch the full-length forecast with all the other markets, make sure to subscribe to the channel membership to get access.